Hi, and welcome to Tech Talk, the Bankers video series on the fintech community worldwide. I'm Joy McKnight, technology editor at The Banker, and I'm here with John O'Hara, CEO of TaxEyes, a fintech startup which helps back office staff work more efficiently across banks. So John, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Joy.
How does that really work? How does TaxEyes make things more efficient?
So, yeah, TaskEyes was, my career was 20 years in investment bank technology, some of the best banks. And I spent the entire of my career automating things. And at the end of that 20-year period, I looked back, looked around and realized there was still as much in back office operations in terms of staff, in terms of broken things, despite all this sort of effort in automation as there ever was. And I thought, what have we done wrong? You know, all this effort at straight-through processing, STP, billions of dollars invested, and still everything seems to be less than you'd hope it to be. And TaskEyes is a reaction to that. Basically, you put in place all this machinery to make things flow automatically, but if something falls out of that machine, lands on the floor, and a human being has to pick it up and deal with a broken thing, by definition, it doesn't fit through straight-through processes anymore. And I wanted to make a solution to how you deal with the broken transactions, how you deal with the queries, the things that have gone wrong, and to put structure around that. And TaskEyes was born of a need and a desire to put a utility in place that would really make that work, not just within a bank, because banks are a network business, it's one of the oldest network businesses, but between banks as well. And that's what we've got, kind of STP for things that don't do STP.
Okay, but will it actually lead to a reduction in headcount? Because I think that's really what banks are really aiming for at the moment. Will TaxEyes do that?
It's very, very hard to drive heads out of the back office. There's no end of effort has been tried on it already. But we think that TaskEyes offers one of the few ways of genuinely doing that. So yes is the answer. It won't happen fast immediately, but it will happen progressively, and it will get faster and faster as time goes on. We think that if you have a structured way of dealing with fails and queries across the industry, that the industry will become better and better at dealing with fails and queries in a standardized way, and TaskEyes providing a foundation for that means that you will be able to compress the cost of the back office quite considerably. So we have a lot of hope there, and so do our prospective customers.
Okay, and your flagship product is called Smart Directory. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, so TaskEyes Smart Directory, this is I think what makes everyone really intrigued by what we do. When you call up your bank and have a retail experience and say, I'd like to make a bill payment, you say, can you put me through to someone who can make a bill payment? Don't say, can you put me through to Tracy, please, or can you put me through to Bob? And so why do we have that sort of experience anywhere else? You want to say, well, I want to talk to someone in equity confirmations at a particular organization, and we make that happen. Now, that's fine, lovely idea, but how does TaskEyes know who does what job? And that's what Smart Directory is. So Smart Directory learns what people do by watching what they do. It also looks at the totality of all the work that's happened so far, and for each inquiry coming in, matches the right person performing the right role in the right firm with that task right now. So I think people don't believe it when they hear it, but we demonstrated it to a group of 12 banks about 3 months ago, and they got it. I think it's a bit like the epiphany people had when Google first came along. And there's this little box appeared in the middle of the screen, and people thought, how can this little box answer my questions? And it did. We're doing the same for how you do fields management and query processing in the back office. Okay,
and as you said, you have a very long history working in the banks. What made you decide to start up TaxEyes?
Oh, so yeah, I loved working in the tier 1 banks. It was a fantastic time. Especially in the 90s and through the noughties. So yeah, a great career there. I guess I spent a lot of my time in banking being an entrepreneur, and I wanted to see what it was like if we put a real commercial environment around that. And I'd seen some of my colleagues and friends outside banking through AMQP, which is something else I was involved in, have some very successful technology startups. Rabbit Technology is the one I'd cite as an example there. And I thought, yeah, I'd love to see that experience. And so I looked around inside banking and thought, what problem can only be solved by someone who's outside the banks? And this problem of fixing fails, because fails happen between organizations. They don't happen within an organization. It falls on the floor between the organizations. So no one bank can solve that by themselves. Thought that's the area to go after. And that's where we started TaskEyes. It's a tough old journey, but it's been a really interesting one.
And so what are the benefits to having such an important clearinghouse like Euroclear as your main partner and investor?
What we're doing, when we started, we realized that if you sell a core technology to a bank as a fintech, they're not going to be able to buy it because you're too small to become structurally a key dependency of the bank. And TaskEyes, if you like, is icing on the cake. It goes on top. It doesn't in any way tamper with the core mechanics of a bank. You add it to the bank gets better. So if you took it away again, the bank doesn't get worse. So that was a key part in how we identified our market. But that said, TaskEyes ends up being in a very important place, processing confidential information between banks. All of the issues come rushing to the fore. They always come rushing to the fore. Security, know your customer, all these things come to the fore. So having Euroclear, who's got such a great reputation as being an industry utility, they've been around for 40 years, which is almost impossible to believe. And they're generally well liked and well respected, and they know how to operate a big, responsible utility. To have them as an investor lets us borrow that knowledge and learn how to do that much, much faster, and gives our customers a sense of, yes, there's really someone standing behind this, that we know what we're doing, that despite this being innovative, it's also something they can trust. And that a challenge for fintechs is you're new, you're small, you've got a great idea. How do you bring that up the curve fast enough to the point where it can become mission critical infrastructure to the banking industry? Because there's no cutting corners there.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for coming in today, John.
Joy, thank you so much.